Hello guys, this is your friend Naruto Fanfic Series 2.0 and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto was chosen by 12 angelic beauties to become their eternal harem king. Part 3. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Unknown location. Are you certain, Zetsu? Pain asked of his spy. Yes, Lord Pain. Black half answered. We have confirmed that their targets are indeed the Jinchuriki and that they are headed for Fire Country right now. White half finished. What more do you know of them? Are they shinobi? The Akatsuki leader inquired further. We do not think so, but they are still very powerful. The one in blue seems to be the leader and the strongest. They derive their monikers from the four guardian spirits. Pain mulled this thought around in his head for a moment, thinking of what to do. Finally, he answered his spy. Go to Fire Country and find Kisame and Itachi. Tell them to intercept these so-called saint beasts and find out what they really want with the Biju. I will be sending Deidara and Sasori to back them up in case they are hostile. Go quickly and do not fail me. Pain commanded as Zetsu sunk into the ground in a hurry to carry out the orders given. Just who are these saint beasts and what do they hope to accomplish? Pain asked himself aloud. 1 week later. It's been a very long week since the attack and things had yet to fully calm down within the village. Not even the girls were able to go out in public all that often due to the fact that they lived with Naruto, but Naruto was the public's main target for their outrage. For a while now, anyone that Sasuke had wronged, the civilian council would threaten them to keep silent while Sarutobi was nearly powerless to do anything about it. The last person to publicly do so was blacklisted by nearly every business in the village and was currently homeless due to the realty office kicking him and his family out of their home by claim. They now currently live in the slums not too far from his apartment under a tarp, where they've been for the past 3 years. They were made an example of those who chose to defy the council and their whims. Now, the Hokage herself was challenging the council and used a lot more force than Sarutobi did. Tsunade was infamous for her temper and it was showing in her inter-village political dealings. The civilian society was closing ranks on Naruto and his friends quickly, denying them access into any grocery store or stall in retaliation for their precious Uchiha being thrown in jail. Tsunade came over to his house to visit and noticed that the pantry was barren, so she asked what was wrong. Tamami informed her of what had been happening in the village and she decided to go with them under a henge of Naruto. They came up to the first store, where the owner tried to chase them out with a meat cleaver but Naruto wouldn't budge. The owner screamed until he was blue in the face at her, stirring up a scene that involved several sneering people, some with crude weapons like pipes and kitchen knives. They were all shouting out that he should have let the Uchiha kill him and the girls, let him have what he wanted. She told them to fuck off. One villager grew gutsy enough to try to slay the demon, taking a slash at her with a carving knife. She responded by nearly sending him into the next zip code and proceeded to lay waste to the store, leaving nothing standing. When they villagers were ready to attack the girls, too, she released the henge and revealed herself to the public, making them cower away from her and babble out apologies. We're sorry, Lady Tsunade. We didn't know it was you. They pleaded. Their pleas only served to further arouse her anger, though. Stow it. Your apologies are wasted on the wrong person, you groveling swine. That boy saved my life and all of yours, as well. I will not hear of any of you trying to make his life harder than it already is, or there will be consequences. She told them outright. After that incident, the villagers were reined in and at least turned a blind eye to his presence. He was being ignored, but it was far better than what was going on before. Now, ever since Sasuke got thrown in the slammer for his unprovoked assault and attempted murder, the council had been haggling away and trying to push the trial date back. It worked, for a few days, but after the 4th day, Tsunade finally had enough and threw them, physically, out of her office. The brat goes on trial in 2 days' time. No more of your bullshit stalling. She yelled at them from her door before she slammed it shut. Konoha courtroom. It was a packed house for the court-martial of Sasuke Uchiha. Many shinobi had turned out to see that last scion of the Uchiha family be brought to justice for attacking a group of girls that were the Hokage's guests, but what spun them for a loop was the fact that the Kyuubi child came to their rescue and held the Uchiha off long enough for the Anbu to arrive and apprehend him. Their opinion of Naruto went up a few notches when they heard that he took a lethal jutsu through the chest for one of the girls. They figured that if he was willing to give up his life to protect them, he wasn't as bad as they thought he was. On the civilian side, however, was a vastly different story, although there were some that had a change of heart and did a little soul-searching once they heard the news. The fact that he was willing to throw his life away to protect those innocent girls by being impaled through his chest by an infamous lethal jutsu had a habit of winning a few hearts and minds. Then, there was the release of who really defeated the Suna Jinchuriki, their own container did. He fought Gaara blow for blow and even summoned a creature they hadn't seen since the Yondaime was alive, the mighty Gamabunta. If he summoned Gamabunta, the only way for that to happen was if he was trained by Jiraiya himself and he entrusted the Toad contract to the boy. The rest were your classic psychos, maniacs, and screaming sycophants that were out for blood. Sasuke even had some greasy lawyer that the council had sprung for to defend him, and even Tsunade couldn't deny him legal counsel. The man, Kishi Tadakoro, gave the council a cocky thumbs up as he faced the panel. Sakura was sitting with the rest of the civilians, awaiting the fate of her beloved Sasuke while her mother sat on the other side, her husband sneering at her. "I'll see to her later." Atsugi Haruno growled as he tried to take a seat on the panel, only to be shoved away by Ibiki Morino. "You common dog, know your place," he snarled at the interrogator, which proved to be a horrible idea. "You don't sneer at the boogeyman of Konoha while he's on duty and get away with it." He lifted the smaller man up by his collar until their eyes met. His dark stare chilled the arrogant councilman to the very marrow. "This is a military court marital. You and the rest of the civilian council have no place here. Now leave," Ibiki replied, his tone murderous and calm with enough ki to scare the Shinigami. He tossed the man aside and continued to take his place on the panel, with Inoichi, the psychoanalyst, and Shikaku, the Junin commander, following behind, all of them shoving him aside. "What is the meaning of this?" Homura bellowed but was silenced by an Anbu. "Take you seats in the gallery. This trial is outside of your authority," the cat-masked Anbu said calmly as she took her position again. Finally, it was time to begin as Shizune walked through the doors. "All rise for the Honorable Hokage, Lady Tsunade Senju," she ordered as Tsunade herself walked through the doors and took her place on the panel. "Be seated," she instructed. "Bailiff, please bring in the accused," Tsunade commanded. At her beckoning, the bailiff, Asuma Sarutobi, escorted the young man into the courtroom. Once he had Sasuke situated on the stand, he took his post as the court-martial got underway. "Northwestern Fire Country borders, finally, we're here in Fire Country," Ray grumbled. "I know, I'm starving," Guy whined. "Will you two pull yourselves together, already?" "Geez," Shin admonished, but it was already enough to incite Go's wrath. "Enough of your weak chatter. We come here for one purpose only." Go bellowed at his brothers, but another voice cut in. "And what purpose would that be?" The voice, Itachi Uchiha, inquired tonelessly. "So, these guys are the ones ripping up our informants and anyone in their way, You don't look too tough to me," Kisame commented, Samahata resting on his shoulder and ready to use it if he had to. The Saint Beasts took a good look at the ones confronting them. "Black cloaks with red clouds. You must be members of the Akatsuki. You will not stop us from regaining our former powers as the gods of all animals. Once we have all of the Biju, we will rid the world of you human filth and return it to its full splendor once again." Go demanded. "Fool, we will not hand over that which we desire so easily," Itachi answered coldly. "Yeah, all right, I was itching for a fight." Kisame laughed as he readied his Samahata to rip these pretty boys to shreds. In a near eye blink, Guy had closed the distance on Itachi, slashing at him with his claws. Thanks to the Mangekyu, Itachi easily evaded it and kicked him aside when Shin followed up with his Genbushard attack. A quick Kawarimi saw to his safety as he backed off to gauge his opponents a bit more. Ray leapt high into the air and came down with blinding speed and crushing force with his taloned feet, but was held at bay by the monster of the mist and his massive sword, then batted aside but had to contend with Go and his immense physical power. Kisame was quick with a sweetened jutsu to slow the raging Go down, and once they were distracted, he made a Mizu Bunshin to help even the odds. Kisame swung his blade down to crush the stunned Go, but he caught it with his bare hands and was starting to overwhelm him, but he had something planned for him. He quickly and forcefully yanked the Samahata out of his grip, shredding the flesh of Go's hands. "Aaggh. You miserable humans, I'll kill you all," the angry Siryu bellowed in rage, but before he could crush Kisame into chum, an explosion went off between them. Descending onto the battlefield was Deidara, atop on of his clay bird with Sasori hopping off as well. "Having trouble, Deidara quipped. "Deidara, stop fooling around and let us take care of these fools." Sasori crackled out as his puppet body touched down, its deadly scorpion tail raised. "More of you human filth. I'll eradicate you all. Brothers, kill them all," Go shouted to his brethren who answered the call. Guy leapt in to engage Sasori while Shin tangled with Deidara. Itachi was now facing Go and Kisame now faced Ray again. Guy first attempted to claw his way into what he believed was the real body, but the tail was lightning quick and grazed his neck. After a few moments passed, he felt the effects of the deadly venom which slowed him down and was beginning to impair his vision. The Byakko held off the effects of the poison as long as he could while he leapt in again and again, scoring more damage on the body of his opponent until it had to back off. Shin launched salvo after salvo of his Genbu shards at the Mad Bomber of Iowa, only to hit clay clones that would explode, further obscuring his vision. Through the dust and smoke, a small army of clay spiders came crawling out, a few of them landing on Shin's sleeve and detonating, impairing the usage of his left arm. However, he fought through the pain and fired off another well-aimed salvo that hit the real Deidara, forcing the two to a standstill. Rei was currently flapping above his opponent, trying to find a way past that wicked sword he wielded, while Kisame was tired of wasting his chakra on trying to shoot the Birdman out of the sky because he was too fast to get a clean shot. Finally getting fed up with doing nothing but dodging, Rei swooped in from above again, but halted at the last moment, throwing off Kisame's timing and scoring a hit. It was a deep goring wound in the shark man's shoulder, but he responded by shaving a few layers of flesh from Rei's right leg. Go was charging in like a raging bull, a very fast raging bull that Itachi was having a hard enough time trying to continually dodge while trying to mount a counter-attack. He wanted to reserve his Sharingan jutsu for a dire emergency and not waste them, so he was stuck trying to wear him down with minor wounds caused by various thrown weapons and smaller jutsu, like the Hausenka, peppering him with fireballs while on the move. Finally, he felt that his opponent was weakened enough to attempt the Tsukuyomi. He made eye contact and felt the pull. But nothing happened. Impossible. The Tsukuyomi had no effect on him. We underestimated them, he thought as he tried to come up with a plan. Itachi looked around at his fellow members and saw that they all had wounds of varying degrees, and their foes, despite being wounded as well, showed no signs of tiring anytime soon. He motioned to Deidara for a quick escape. He got the message and pulled out a large chunk of clay while Itachi, Sasori, and Kisame kept the rest busy. After a moment, Deidara had enough time to craft a larger than usual clay owl, but they still needed a distraction. Itachi had just the jutsu for the job. Amaterasu. The black flames roared to life between them and their pursuers, halting their progress. Come on, they're getting away, Guy cried as he attempted to continue the pursuit, but Go held him by the collar. Those flames are not normal. They would have burned you to a cinder. There will be other chances to kill them, but in the meantime, we must change our target since he is guarded quite heavily. He commented as he turned to Shin. Where is the next Biju located? Go asked. The nearest ones are located to the north. In Earth Country. They are the 4 and 5-tailed spirits respectively. He replied after consulting his map. Okay then, after we recover from this battle, we set out for Earth, then. He commanded as they set out for a border town to find an inn. Aboard Deidara's clay owl, the 4 members of Akatsuki took stock of the situation. They had badly underestimated their opponents and paid dearly for it, but managed to delay them somewhat. Leader won't be happy about this, Deidara commented, pulling out the shards from his shoulder while the others simply nodded. They were headed back to the Akatsuki base to relay the news in person. Back in Konoha, Sasuke had just finished delivering his statement, or more like his rantings and selfish justifications. The jury was far from happy with the panel, thinking the same thing, that he was blatantly lying to them and was depending on his name to clear the charges. Tadakura wasn't helping things along either, since the guy was about as charming as an eel as he stood to speak on his client's behalf and character. You see, Lady Hokage, Sasuke Uchiha is a model citizen who, in not way, shape or form, deserves to be treated in such a manner. It is very clear that these girls are merely jilted fangirls that want some form of revenge against my client, and they had contracted the help of the Uzumaki to help in an elaborate plot to frame him. He explained, the greasy smirk never leaving his face. Is that so? Inoichi asked, his eyes narrowed with barely contained contempt for this farce of a lawyer. Then, you won't mind if we bring in the victims of your client's attack, will you? After all, if he never did anything, then they won't have a mark to show for it, will they? Inoichi said in a tone that told of his laughing of the man's oily demeanor. They then called in the victims of the crime to show the severity of their wounds, along with the medical reports and the mental health report on Nana due to her case of mental trauma and shock. The real zinger came when Naruto was asked to remove his jacket to show the wood that was left behind by the Chidori, which made many gasp. It was indeed luck that he was the vessel for the demon, because by all accounts he should have died that night. However, one juror had something else in mind. Who's that hot blonde girl with the dobi? I think I'll help myself after the trial. Not like the dobi's in any shape to do anything about it with the shape he's in. Hiba thought, looking at Akane. Coincidentally, she caught sight of him and had to be held in place to keep from ripping him apart. Tadakura stood and delivered his assessment of the situation. This is preposterous. My client had nothing to do with these injuries. How do we know that he didn't inflict them on himself and those girls? He accused. These medical reports don't lie, as well as accounts from the one that apprehended him, one Anko Mitarashi and Anbu Team 4. On top of that, after Sasuke Uchiha had been taken into custody and placed in an Anbu cell, He tried to escape but was stopped by Jiraiya-sama when he was on his way to apply chakra restrictive seals on the Uchiha to prevent such a thing from happening. He has now proven himself to be a flight risk. Counselor Tadakoro, do you have anything to say to these facts, or will we have to go even further? You know there are penalties for lying to the jury and covering up the truth. Ibiki stated, his cold tone nearly making the corrupt legal counselor lose control of his bladder. And no further questions, then. He stammered. The court will have a 10-minute recess in which to decide a verdict. Tsunade announced as she banged the gavel down. The court went into recess and the civilian counsel flooded the defendant's stand, hammering Tadakoro with questions. How could you let them do this? Homura hissed. What was I supposed to do? That brat is guilty as sin and they know it. They have mental files, psyche reports, medical reports from the Hokage herself and Kami only knows what else. I won't let you drag me down with him. If I get caught lying in a military tribunal, death is the best damn thing that'll happen to me. He shot back, fear rampant in his beady eyes as the recess was called in. Once everyone was settled in from the short recess, the trial was once again started, the jurors called back in to deliver their verdict. Please rise for the verdict. Ibiki called out. Iruka, the jury foreman, stood up on cue. Lady Tsunade, we, the jury, have unanimously found Sasuke Uchiha guilty of 10 counts of assault and 7 counts of attempted murder, as well as attempting to escape from his holding facility. We recommend the maximum sentence be placed upon him, to serve as a reminder that clan status is nothing in the eyes of the law. Iruka stated, his face a mask of stone. The crowd sat in stunned silence over the results of the verdict. The Civil Council members were stewing in a silent rage over the result while the rest of their supporters were ready to riot. The rest had come to expect this turn of event. Sasuke had obviously and brazenly lied to them and had insulted their intelligence if he thought that they bought his line of crap. They knew that the penalty for such crimes would be very steep. Sakura just wouldn't take no for an answer, though. She hopped over the railings and before the guards could catch her, she tried to plead with Naruto one last time before everyone. Please, don't do this. I'll do anything you want. Anything you could think of. I'll even give my virginity to you. Just please don't send Sasuke-kun to jail. She wailed as she tugged on his jacket and made a big production out of it, but Naruto was less than amused with how far she was taking this. He wrenched his jacket out of her hands and his face was filled with nothing but disgust and contempt. She had the nerve, the gall, to attempt to charm him after all she had done. I don't fucking think so. He mentally snarled. Why should I? That asshole tried to kill me and several innocent people that night and all you can think about is yourself. On top of all that, you think that offering yourself to me like some hooker will change my mind. Go away, damn you. You had your chance to be nice when all I did was give. I gave everything to you and Sasuke but what did I get? He nearly killed me and my friends and all you do is make things worse. Naruto snarled at her, making her cringe back. Naruto, please, I mean it, do this for me, this one little thing. She tried one more time, trying to play feelings for her that didn't exist anymore. This time the girls came back and Ayumi walked up. Is there a problem, Naruto-kun? The brown-haired turtle girl asked, she and Akane giving Sakura a glare that could melt steel. Yeah, this piece of garbage right here. Naruto replied, not removing his hard gaze off of the pink-haired girl. What's their problem? Sakura huffed. The next action surprised them all. Akane quickly slugged her in the stomach and brought the harpy to her knees. That was for vengeance. You helped to kill someone close to Naruto-kun and you had it coming. That is our problem. Akane snarled down at her. Cough what did I do? I didn't kill anybody. She wheezed on her knees, prompting Ayumi to kneel down. Yes, you helped that Uchiha slime kill me all those years ago and now. I'm back. The turtle girl hissed in her ear as they walked away, leaving her there. Kimi Haruno had been listening to the entire thing and was especially surprised to hear the last part. She walked around the railing and collected her daughter while her husband was screaming bloody murder. You see, these animals just attacked my sweet, innocent daughter. They are the guilty ones. Especially this little demon. Atsugi screamed at the top of his lungs, pointing at Naruto. He flared from all corners of the room and nearly gave the corrupted politician a coronary. His wife walked up to him and addressed him. You broke the Sandame's law. Atsugi Haruno, you are under arrest, she declared. You, on whose authority? You're just a retired chunin. You don't have the authority to punish me, but just wait till we get home. I'll make sure you never step up to me again. Atsugi snarled at his wife, raising his hand to smack her, but Naruto was there to catch it. You wanna hit someone? Try hitting me. Kimi-san is one of the nice people who tried to help me and gave me a pet to ease my pain. I never forgot about what she did for me and I won't let an asshole like you hurt her. Naruto yelled at him. Atsugi responded by yanking out a knife he had hidden in his sleeve and going to try to kill Naruto, but one of the Anbu buried her kunai into his skull, carrying out his sentence on the spot and dragged his corpse away. The crowd looked on, aghast at what happened, but before they could react, Tsunade spoke out. He broke the Sandame's law. You all know the penalty for that, and let this be a reminder to you all that I am through with playing games around here and certain people getting off light due to their clan names. I am nothing like Sarutobi-sensei, and don't you forget it. This stops here and now. Sasuke Uchiha, you are hereby sentenced to life imprisonment into the Konoha Maximum Security Prison's solitary confinement wing. You will have your chakra and Sharingan permanently sealed. You will never know the light of day again, and hopefully we can forget you even existed. You have brought shame upon your ancestors with your traitorous actions and made a mockery of what it means to be a Konoha shinobi for the final time. We now wash our hands of you, Tsunade declared, daring the crowd to lash out in some manner. Sasuke was completely stunned. He was to be thrown away, getting his kicked out of the world. But I'm an Uchiha, I'm Uchiha. He kept babbling to himself as a pair of guards dragged his near-comatose form out of his chair and out of the courtroom. Naruto and the girls silently cheered that justice was carried out for what happened to them. Akane felt especially vindicated, since he was one of the two that murdered her when she was still a vixen. Ayumi also felt that her justice has finally come and her death at his hands had been avenged. Instead of screaming chaos, the would-be rioters simply shuffled out of the hall in a silent daze. Kimi Haruno was a little upset to see her husband dead, but with all that he had done to her, all of the physical and emotional abuse she had endured under him, she felt next to nothing but relief. She actually felt like she had been set free. Her daughter, on the other hand, would have to be put under suicide watch and penciled in for a long overdue trip to the shrinks. She turned to Naruto momentarily. Naruto-chan, don't feel bad for me. He is gone now and I can live with that. I also apologize for all that my daughter has put you through. Just take care of yourself, and if you have any problems, you can always talk to me. Like we used to do when you were little. She told him kindly. Thank you, Kimi-chan. I'll have to do that. Know that he's gone and I can talk you about stuff again. He replied with an honest smile as the woman easily lifted her daughter, who was light to an unhealthy degree. Then, why don't you and your friends come over with me? Sakura will be out for quite a while and won't bother you. She offered. He looked to Tsunade, who gave him a shooing gesture with a smile, so he agreed to it. Haruno residence. Kimi was riddled the whole way there with questions about how such a sweet woman could have had such a rotten child. She was serving some tea while they all talked. It was a bit cramped in the house with all of them there, but it was still cozy enough and the questions kept coming. You're that Banshee's mother, but, you're so nice, Tsubasa exclaimed. Yeah, she really is, Nano. Kurumi agreed. No kidding. Her husband was a monster and her daughter was getting there. How did that family turn out so horribly? Mika wondered. Mika, have a little more tact. Ayumi admonished. It's quite all right, Ayumi-chan. Well, as you know, my marriage wasn't a happy one. When I was 16, I was a Chunin shinobi, but my parents didn't agree with my choice of profession. They saw a chance to get me out of it plus themselves into a socially acceptable position when he asked for my hand in marriage. I refused, since making Junin like my idols Tsunade-sama and Kushina-sama was my goal, but they forced me into the marriage. After we were married and after I had Sakura, he had my chakra sealed up completely with the help of a few contacts on the council, since he didn't like the fact that I was so much stronger than him. After that, my life went on a downward spiral, especially after the Kyuubi attack. She told them, Naruto having a look of guilt on his face. It's not your fault, Naruto-chan. As a matter of fact, I knew your mother, since she was one of my idols. She told him with a smile. Really, you knew who she was? Can you tell me? He asked eagerly. Seeing the near-desperate look on his face, she couldn't say no. Yes, I can at least tell you that. Kushina-sama was your mother, Naruto-kun. She was one of the strongest people I've ever known and she was a match for even the Yondaime in strength. When she became pregnant with you and found that you were a boy, she was as giddy as a schoolgirl. She asked me if I would mind if she brought you over to play with Sakura when you were older. But the Kyuubi attack happened. At first, I thought you both died, but as soon as Sarutobi-sama announced your surname and I saw your face, I knew whose child you were. You were a cute baby, Naruto-chan. She said, teasing him a bit and making him blush before she continued. I tried adopting you, but Atsugi was firmly against it. He said that it would ruin him politically and he wouldn't have it. A few years later, if you remember, I met you again when I picked up Sakura from school. Atsugi found out and that was what started everything. He told her to hate you, but the Uchiha obsession was something different. He wanted to use her as a breeding tool and secure an Uchiha grandchild to give himself a boost in status, no matter how young she was. When I think about it, I was married to a disgusting man, just as much of a blight to this family as the Uchiha was. Thankfully, they are both gone now, and we can begin to heal. She commented as she sipped her tea. So, Sakura-san was a victim in a sense, as well. Ran said, getting a nod from the woman. Yes, I suppose she is in a sense, as you say. You are a very smart girl, Ran. No wonder Lady Tsunade chose you over my daughter. Kimi replied with a sad smile. Why didn't you stick up for her? Tsubasa asked, her eyes narrowed slightly. Just because she's my daughter, doesn't make everything she does faultless in my eyes. I do love her, but she has many faults, as do we all. To not see them is to be blind. She answered sagely, I think we should go home now. Come on girls, Naruto said to them. He was much happier having found out about his mother at least. He was shown a picture of her and found her to be very beautiful, noticing that his face was just like hers. Will you come back and chat with me again, Naruto-chan? I can tell you more stories about your mother. Kimi offered. Of course I will. Thanks Kimi-chan. Naruto replied happily as the group got a move on back to their house. Along the way home, they realized they needed to go to the market for dinner that night, so Akane volunteered to go, since she could take care of herself to an extent. Akane-chan, please be careful. If anybody tries anything, just run home and don't try to fight unless you have to. Naruto urged. I promise, Naruto-kun. I promise, she said as she left for the market, the rest of them heading home. Konoha streets. Akane was able to shop relatively unaccosted at the market due to most of the smaller stall owners having a change of heart, deciding to leave them alone and conduct honest business. Udon or katsudon, she murmured as she rifled through the products, eventually picking one as she moved along to get the other things on the shopping list Ran gave her. As she shopped, someone had followed her to the store and had been watching her since she left the trial. Man, she's a hottie. That Dobie would never be able to make such a cutie happy, so I might as well help myself, right? Kiba reasoned. His ninkin, Akamaru, had a different perspective. He remembered her scent from over a year ago, but the owner of the scent was supposed to be dead. Kiba had walked into the store, acting like he was shopping himself while keeping her in view and getting closer. He finally saw his chance to introduce himself and use his charms. Hey there, I never noticed you around before. I know that I couldn't have missed such a pretty girl like you, so you must be new here. He declared. Yeah, I'm new here, so what? She deadpanned without even looking at him. Well, since you're new here and all, I should tell you about that guy you seem to hang around with. He told her with a bit of smugness in his voice. What about Naruto-kun? She asked icily. Nothing much to tell, except that he's the dead last and a loser. He jeered. Akane's hackles were rising quickly and she needed to ditch this before she blew her top. Leave me alone, she said with barely maintained calm, but he grabbed her arm to stop her. Come on, what's the rush? Let's go get a bite to eat, my treat. If you're lucky, this'll be our first date, too. He crowed. Don't touch me, she snarled as she jerked away from him harshly, but got a good look at the person bothering her. And she instantly backhanded him with all of her might and sent him to the ground in a heap as she stomped away, nearly having a meltdown on the spot. What the hell's your problem, bitch? Kiba yelled, drawing many glares from other females that were shopping, too. He looked around and saw that she was cashing out and leaving the store, so he tore off after her. After a few moments, he caught up with her just outside of a main street that she seemed to be headed to and cut her off from the entrance, pulling her back into the alley by roughly grabbing her arm and yanked on it. Slap me, huh, you little bitch, I'll teach you, he yelled as he raised his hand to slap her, but she easily caught it and slammed his face into a support beam for an awning, dropping him easily. You, murderer, she snarled with as much rage as she could muster as she had an unnaturally strong grip on his hair, Akamaru having been scared off already and running back to the Inuzuka compound for help. What did I do? He winced as the pain shot through his skull. You don't remember, huh? Almost 2 years ago, you, that bastard Uchiha and some others killed a young vixen in front of Naruto-kun. She told him. Yeah, I remember that night. I got grounded for a year, but that look on the Dobie's face was priceless. He laughed, but her knee digging into his spine quickly silenced him. What do you care, anyway? He sneered as he tried to escape, but she merely smashed his face into the ground again. I'm back for revenge, you bastard, she snarled into his ear, making his blood run ice cold as another person made it to the scene. What's going on here? Hana Inuzuka called out, to which Akane told her about what happened at the store and just now. She wasn't too pleased with his behavior, but Kiba still tried to justify what he did. She said that she wanted revenge for something. I didn't do anything to her. He pleaded with his elder sister, but something pinged within her memory with what was said. Revenge. For a murder 2 years ago. In front of Naruto-kun. Oh god, she couldn't be the vixen that was killed that night. It was her. Hana realized. She already knew about the angels, since Naruto trusted her completely, and she worked out why she'd be so pissed at Kiba. She looked over to the girl, who was visibly restraining herself from finishing him off. Akane, listen to me, calm down. Hana coaxed as the girl began to loosen and uncoil herself. She also lifted herself off of the excuse of an Inuzuka that happened to be related to her. That's good. Now, I'll take care of this lump of shame on the ground and you should go home, where it's safe. Hana told her as she lifted Kiba roughly off of the ground by his hair and vanished in a shunshin. Akane shook herself and she moved along home. This isn't over yet, human. I'll make you pay for taking me from Naruto-kun. Akane snarled as she continued on her way home. Akatsuki Base of Operations, location unknown. The team that tangled with the now-named Saint Beasts had finally returned to their base of operations in varying states of injury. Kisame still had a deep wound in his shoulder, Itachi looked like he was trampled, Sasori's body was riddled with deep gouges, and Deidara's arm was perforated. Pain was at first in disbelief that 4 of his stronger shinobi had been taken to task as their current states suggested and from Zetsu's report. The rest of the Akatsuki had gathered so they could properly discuss how they were going to deal with this new threat to their objective. So, these 4 were powerful enough to not only injure you 4, but send you running? Pain inquired in an annoyed tone. He, you got your sorry kicked. Hidan jeered, drawing annoyed looks from the returning party. They are quite powerful, Black Zetsu answered. Taking them down will prove quite difficult. White Zetsu added. What do they want with the Biju? Konan asked, Itachi answering. They say they are the gods of animals and the Biju are great spirits. However, when they are sealed, they become nothing but chakra batteries for their containers to use. They want to use them to regain their powers. He answered. What is their goal? What do they want with the demons? Pain inquired forcefully, his Rinnegan eyes narrowed. Complete annihilation of humans. They view humans with contempt, and to them, a Jinchuriki is a dire insult. They will merely kill the hosts and absorb the Biju to restore their powers. The more they find, the more powerful they become. Black Zetsu replied, his tone grave. Madara, who was hidden in the shadows, overheard everything and couldn't help but become infuriated. These fools are of no use to me if they cannot defeat these upstarts. These Saint Beasts need to go if my Moon's Eye plan can be realized. The shadow leader of the Akatsuki mused as he went over the facts presented by his spymaster, but as he did, he remembered something he read once at the Uchiha clan shrine when he was still with Konoha. About the balance of nature prior to the rise of civilization as they knew it. Before the dawn of the current civilization, there was a time when man and beast lived in perfect harmony with one another. After some time, relations between them had soured over the lack of space and food. Soon, the powerful Saint Beasts had had enough and were ready to go to war with the humans, setting the tailed beasts on them until the Rakuto Sennin stepped in and intervened. He sealed all of the Biju within himself and sealed off the powers of the great Saint Beasts. If they are really the Saint Beasts, we are in more trouble than I thought. We must capture the Biju before them and prevent them from carrying out their goal. My Moon's Eye plan must be realized. Madara schemed as the rest of the Akatsuki went over their plans and ideas on how to deal with this new threat. We must track them down and eliminate them. Pain ordered, turning to Itachi as he thought of something. Itachi, did you try to utilize your Sharingan against them? He asked. The reply he got chilled them all. Yes, and my Tsukuyomi had no effect whatsoever. It only seemed to make them angrier. The Uchiha Slayer replied. Then we have to overwhelm them and hinder them every step of the way. Konan announced. How do they know where the Biju are located? Kakuzu inquired. It seems as if one of them can sense and home in on them over a limited distance. If a Jinchuriki is near, they will be able to find them without fail. They were chasing the Kyuubi Jinchuriki when Itachi and his team fought them. White Zetsu answered. Pain mulled this information over in his head before issuing a command. Zetsu, keep tabs on them at all times, and when they locate a vessel, alert us and we will send a combat team, such as Hidan and Kakuzu, to intercept them. We cannot allow them to interfere. Pain ordered as the meeting drew to a close. Somewhere south of Iwagakure. Trudging along the rocky and treacherous mountain paths of Earth Country we find the 4 Saint Beasts, who were hot on the tail of the Yondu Jinchuriki. Roshi, the Yondu's container, was a hardened and wily war veteran ninja and therefore hard to catch, and eventually, they gave up on him for the time being. The Gobi vessel had been found and they fought him, but he managed to fight his way out of their grasp and back to the nearby ninja village of Iwa, who sent out Anbu units to find his attackers. Damn it, these humans are a pain in the... Guy complained as they made a quick escape from the pursuing forces. After an hour in a flat-out running, they managed to outrun the units sent after them and rested for the moment, poring over their options. These vessels are proving to be a real hassle to capture. They are all highly guarded or elusive, Ray surmised. I agree. On top of that, some of these shinobi are nothing to sneeze at either. Especially those of the Akatsuki. Shin agreed. I don't care what it takes. I will not run from these filthy humans. Go roared in anger as he wheeled around to tangle with their pursuers again, but his younger brothers stopped him. Big brother, please listen to reason. These humans are not like anything we have faced in the past. They have become powerful and trying to take on a village full of them at once is suicide with our current powers. Shin beseeched him. Shin was usually the voice of reason among them and got him to settle down. For now, fine. In that case, we head back to Fire Country and hunt down the Nine-Tails vessel. He is very young and more inexperienced than the rest of the vessels, so he should be easier to catch. Go ordered. The rest of them sighed, knowing that in the mood he was in now, any argument would be met with swift and terrible punishment. They simply turned to the southeast and set course for Konoha again, since they knew that it was where the Kyuubi Jinchuriki would definitely be located. From the intelligence they could gather, he was shunned and hated by his home village, treated as a freak and outcast, meaning any resistance met while killing him would be like to none. The Akatsuki intercepting them was merely bad timing. Well, that is true. According to the reports, he is hated by his home village. This would be easier than the others for now, but we need to use caution. Shin warned. Why? We could tear that brat to shreds without breaking a sweat. Guy boasted, but got cuffed by Shin. You idiot. Even though he is young, he still holds the most powerful of the Biju within him, and if he can control even a portion of its power, he will be dangerous. Shin rebuffed the youngest of the four. That's true. The last Jinchuriki we fought had full control over his Biju's power and we had trouble keeping up with him. Ray agreed. Agreed. We will use caution when taking him. After this is done, we can finally bring peace to our world. Go at it as they continued their trek back down to Fire Country. Meanwhile, in the heavenly realm, the goddess was watching the Saint Beast's movements with worry. They were greatly weakened by the Rakudo Sennin, but still a very dangerous threat, if how they fought off the Akatsuki was any indicator. The Akatsuki and the Uchiha boy alone were critical threats, but this only made things worse. She saw the night when the Uchiha nearly killed the girls, only for Naruto to take a killing blow for them and back up to take the insane Uchiha down. She was proud of how her angels performed under pressure, backing each other up, and Tsubasa fighting bravely alongside her master, and especially of Naruto himself, for being willing to lay down his life to protect them. Then came how some of the good people that still existed in Konoha had come together to combat this threat from within. Now, she turned her attention to the situation with the Saint Beasts and the subsequent revival of their leader, Go the Azure Dragon. Eons ago, he was relentless in his drive to exterminate humanity from the face of the earth, down to the last man, woman and child. He even managed to somehow harness the massive power of the 9 spirit beasts and combined them into one being, the Jubi. The Rakudo Sennin, knowing what he had to do, tore the beast asunder in a great and cataclysmic battle that forever scarred the lands. He succeeded in separating the beasts from the whole and sealed them all away, along with the powers of the 4 saint beasts within himself, and took the knowledge of how to unlock them with him to his grave. Unfortunately, humans had discovered how to capture the Biju and harness their destructive power. By sealing them into other humans and turning them into Jinchuriki, human weapons. The poor souls that had been condemned to bear this awful burden had been ostracized from normal society for something they had no choice in, but they all now have much larger problems. Now, there was another group that desired the Biju, but for reasons that had yet to be revealed. The members of this group are very powerful shinobi who had turned their backs on their homes and went rouge, some of them committing horrible atrocities in the process and afterwards. Naruto Uzumaki, the boy in whom she had placed so much faith, is a prime target for both of these factions, but she has sent him some help in return for how much he had proven himself. She had now sent the final 4 of the 12 angels whose lives were forever changed by the boy, who begged and worked hard for the chance to return to his side. Yuki, I have faith that you can rally the angels and pull them in tighter. The storms in the village may have passed for now, but a much larger maelstrom is looming just beyond the horizon. The deity murmured as she continued to monitor how things went in her timeless realm. Somewhere in Rice Field Country. Quote! Orochimaru screamed in unearthly pain as he thrashed wildly in his bed while Kabuto, his assistant, watched on, not knowing what else he could do. His master was rotting away before his eyes and he, with his vast talents and skills in the medical arts, could do nothing. Kabuto, where is the Uchiha? The half-dead snake Sanin demanded. My lord, I just received a report that he had been thrown in prison for attempting to kill his own teammate. The bespectacled Nin replied, I don't care what it takes. Get me that boy. I am running out of time. Orochimaru ordered as Kabuto swept it from the room to fulfill his master's wishes. Marching down the halls of the hidden base, Kabuto found his way down to where the Sound Four resided. The Sound Four were Orochimaru's elite honor guard, his top lieutenants and strongest fighters next to Kabuto and Orochimaru himself. The reason for this is because they are four of the only people branded with the curse seal to ever survive it. The four in question snapped their attention to him as he marched into their midst. What the hell do you want, Four Eyes? To Hyuga, the only kunoichi of the group and a fiery, foul-mouthed red head, growled. Kabuto wasn't really a favorite around the base since he was Orochimaru's monkey boy. I came here to give you a mission from Lord Orochimaru himself. He shot back. Oh really? What would that be? Saken, the de facto leader of the four, inquired with skepticism. He wants you to retrieve someone for him. The last Uchiha, Kabuto replied. What if he doesn't want to come? Can we rough that pretty boy up? Jorubo, by far the largest of the four, asked. Yes you may, but nothing permanent. You know how the master hates bruised fruit. However, I doubt you will need to persuade him to come with you. Kabuto smirked. Care to enlighten us as to why? Kidomaru, the six-armed member of the group, asked with uncertainty. He really didn't like it when he smirked like that. Sasuke Uchiha is currently a guest of the Konoha maximum security prison system and would love nothing more than to see Konoha burn to the ground for it. Kabuto told them. Wait a second. Maximum security prison. How the hell could we break him out even with our second-level seals? We'd need a small army to breach the outer perimeter. Kidomaru exclaimed. Again, you needn't worry about that. Our mutual business partner within Konoha's council will see to a gap in their security. All you would have to do is slip in and extract him. It's simple, really, Kabuto explained. The quartet mulled it over for a minute. They knew that Orochimaru's body was going to give out and that if he died, the curse mark would vanish, but if he did die, then Kabuto would more than likely use them for experiments. It was a fate even worse than their current one, so the choice was clear. When do we leave? Saken requested. Back in Konoha, it had been over 2 weeks since the trial and sentencing of Sasuke Uchiha, and things have finally started to calm down in the village. Flashback. To start with, right after the trial, many of the Uchiha supporters were downright hostile to everyone, not just Naruto and the girls. Thankfully, they were few in number since many of them had been demoralized by the public execution of the civilian council head, Atsugi Haruno. Add to that the fact that the supposed demon child had been willing to risk his life to save someone changed the minds of more than a few people. The small household had fewer problems than before, but Sakura was back from being catatonic and causing problems again, much to her mother's distress. After the trial, Sakura was in near comatose shock from seeing her father killed in front of her, but it didn't last too long. After around 2 days, she was beginning to come around, but was shunning her mother in every way. One day, after around a week, Naruto came by to check on Kimi, who was a good friend of his and something of an aunt. Sakura came downstairs to find them having tea in the main room. Naruto Baka, what are you doing in my house? Sakura screamed. Having tea with an old friend. Naruto replied with a shrug, going back to his tea. After Naruto snubbed her, she completely blew a head gasket. Thankfully, her mother was an ex-kunoichi and a damn good one, still retaining some of her speed and knowledge as she hit a nerve cluster on her neck, knocking her unconscious. I think you had better go now, Naruto-chan. We can take tea another time. Kimi told him calmly. The menace had also returned to the academy with an even worse attitude than before. Her new rival and former bully, Amy, had heard about what happened to Sasuke and had only one thing to say. Good. If he was willing to kill innocent people, what would he have done to us? She reasoned. It seemed as though she had gained some common sense along with slightly better grades and personality. You, traitorous bitch, Sakura shrieked as she threw herself at her now former rival, only for Iruka to take her down. Haruno, that is it. Get out of my classroom. Consider yourself expelled, Iruka roared, pointing at the door. Sakura, being who or what she is, of course tried to yell back at him. My daddy will have you all killed. She screamed and threatened the whole class. What daddy would that be? One boy jeered. Oh yeah, the guy that got himself killed by the Anbu. What an idiot, another added, making the class roar with laughter as she ran from the room crying. Ironically, this is what Naruto had to suffer through for years. But after a couple of weeks of it, Sakura was already tired of it. Sadly, her addled brain wouldn't make the connection as she tried to take out her frustration on the youngest of the girls Naruto had staying with him, Nana. You little brat, Sasuke-kun should have killed you and those horse sisters of yours. She shrieked as she tried to slap the girl, until a tall young woman around 18 years of age stopped her, 3 other girls with her. The woman had long, silky jet black hair with crimson-colored eyes along with milky white skin. She was also somewhat tall and dressed in a casual day kimono. The first of the younger girls had chocolate brown hair and almond-colored eyes, her hair done up in a manner that reminded one of those tanuki statues. Moving on, another had pink hair in a long, skinny ponytail like a monkey's tail, with wide brown eyes. The last had lime green hair done up in pigtails that went out to the sides, but it was the ornaments that would remind one of a frog's eyes. "You will not touch that child," the woman declared in a firm tone, a frown marring her lovely face and tightening her deceivingly powerful grip. "Who asked you?" she bellowed back until Kurenai showed up to defuse the situation. "Haruno-san, why were you going to hit an innocent child?" the crimson-eyed Junin asked in a frosty tone. "None of your business, you red-eyed freak." Sakura snarled until Kurenai hit her with a subtle genjutsu to knock her out. She sighed and turned to the assaulted girl. "I'm very sorry about this. I'll take her down to the jail." Kurenai apologized for Sakura's abominable behavior, but the woman waved her off. "No trouble at all, miss. Have a good day," she said amicably as the Junin flickered away to take the now former academy student to the jails. She then turned to Nana, who could tell that there was something familiar about these people. "Thank you, lady." Nana thanked her. The woman knew exactly who the little girl was, but wouldn't reveal that bit until she got to wherever her master lived. "You are welcome, but I would rather you avoid any more trouble," the woman kindly offered. "Yeah, Yuki Nichan can handle these people." The youngest cheered. Yeah," the long-haired girl added timidly. "Yuki One-chan is really strong." The brown-haired girl finished as they continued on their way. "Okay, come along now. Ruru-chan, Momo-chan, Midori-chan." Yuki beckoned the children as they followed her while Nana ran back to the house. Upon reaching the Uzumaki home, Nana burst into the door excitedly, eager to tell the others about her new friends. "Nana-chan, calm down and try again," Ayumi coaxed. "I said that Sakura Mini tried to hit me, but this lady stopped her and another ninja lady arrested Sakura and took her away. She had other girls with her," Nana said a little more slowly, but at least they were able to tell what she was saying. "What did the lady look like?" Mika asked, curious. Nana described her and the girls in great detail, but there was a knocking at the door. Tsubasa got up to answer it since Naruto was currently out on a day mission with a couple of chunin, doing border patrol. Upon opening the door, she was faced with the very woman that Nana had described to them. "Excuse me, is this the Uzumaki residence?" she asked to their surprise. What? Why are you looking for Ma Naruto-kun?" Tsubasa asked, almost blurting it out, but Yuki caught it easily. "I would like to speak with him about something important." "Sisters," she said, finishing the sentence with something sure to shock them, and shock them it did. Ayumi, being the more observant one, gave each of the newcomers a once-over and came to a surprising conclusion. "None of you are human," she murmured, prompting Kurumi and Akane to take in their sense. "She's right," Akane whispered. "They must be angels, Nano." Kurumi chirped, just in time for the person they came to see to come walking up. Hey girls, who are they?" Naruto asked. The eldest of the four smiled gently as she knelt down to see eye to eye with him, her hand cupping his whiskered cheek gently. "Master, I know that I died when you were very young, but I hope you still remember me. I am Yuki, the snake. I've come back to you, Master," she explained to him. The realization hit him quickly. Yuki was his very first friend, so there was no way he'd forget her. "I still never got to thank you for saving me," he choked out as he hugged her as tightly as he could. After getting himself sorted out again, Midori stepped up. "Master, remember how we first met? You know, with the paint cans. It's me, Midori, the Tanuki. I waited for so long to see you again, Master." Midori cried as she launched herself at him. He held her tightly, remembering the times he'd take her to Ichiraku with him and she'd snag some food and followed him everywhere, or how she would always sleep under the covers with him. "I really missed you, too, Midori-chan," he replied as the next girl stepped forward. I really missed you, Master, a whole lot," Momo cried. Naruto remembered how he met her. She was a curious little monkey that came down the mountain and befriended him one day when he was on a hike. She was named for a peach she took from his bag. A tugging on his pant leg got his attention. "Hey, Master, it's me, Ruru the frog. I wanna play with you again, Master." The little girl cheered. Naruto remembered how she hopped into his house one rainy day and would always come back, so he named her and always played with her. All of this in one day was too much for the tired genin, who promptly passed out. "Master," the girls all exclaimed as one, converging on the stricken boy. Ayumi and Ran both made sure to give him some breathing space as they checked him out. Thankfully, he was okay, just exhausted, so they put him to bed as they discussed what happened. "The goddess sent you?" Ran asked, being the de facto leader of the girls until now. Yes, in light of the Uchiha incident and from an impending danger looming on the horizon, she has sent the remainder of us down to Master's side. Allow me to formally introduce myself. I am Yuki, the snake. I am a caster and fighter of the senior rank. Yuki told them as she gave them a short, courteous bow. I'm Midori, the tanuki. I'm a tracker of the middle rank. Midori said, Momo following suit. I'm Momo, a healer, of the junior rank. Nice to meet you, Momo stammered out, blurting out the rest in a hurried bow. My name is Ruru and I'm a caster of junior rank. Ruru said aloud, her arms crossed. Well, now that that's out of the way, Ran announced, the rest of them introducing themselves. Ran and Ayumi were glad that Yuki, a much more senior angel, was there to help them and to take over the reins of leadership amongst the girls, which they had been sharing, and that she could call Mika whenever she went over the top like she had a habit of doing. The girls went on talking for a while longer until Shizune walked into the home. Hello, I'm here for the tutoring lessons, she announced as she peered around the main foyer, seeing no one and getting no response. That's odd, she muttered as she ventured up the stairs, where she could hear voices. As she drew closer, she heard a batch of voices that she didn't recognize, so she zeroed in on it. The voices were coming from Naruto's room, so ventured inside. Once inside, she noticed that all of the girls were present, plus 4 more. What? There's more of you, now. The Hokage's assistant gasped. Yuki was now on edge. A human knew of them and nothing good could come of it. Ran and Akane caught her tensing and diffused the situation. Wait, she's a good human, Akane called out. What do you mean? Yuki asked, her eyes not moving away from the kunoichi for a second. This prompted the rest of the angels to explain the situation and who could be trusted. And who knew about them. Yuki eased off and let out the breath she was holding in. I apologize for my error. I know of you, but not what you look like. I hope you can forgive my caution. Yuki bowed, but Shizune waved it off. She realized that Yuki was probably the eldest of the girls, around 18 or 19 years of age, and therefore the leader among them. It's okay, really, only myself and a select few know your secret and rest assured that it is safe with us. But I am curious, though. What were you before you transmigrated and what types of angels are you? Shizune asked. Yuki was surprised that this human knew so much about them, but answered anyway, since she could be trusted with her master's well-being. Well, I was a snake, Midori-chan was a tanuki, Momo-chan was a monkey, and Ruru-chan was a frog. As for types, Midori-chan is a tracker and middle rank, Momo-chan is a healer, Ruru-chan is a caster, while I myself am a fighter and caster. Yuki explained. You can be 2 different types? Shizune asked, sounding impressed. Akane answered her, well, it's really hard to do, but it can be done. The fox girl replied as Yuki cleared her throat. Now then, I hear that you are training Ayumi-chan and Ran-chan in the healing arts. What kind of training are the other girls receiving? She asked of the brunette. That is correct, Yuki-san. Since Lady Tsunade has her hands full trying to run the village, I fill in for her when called for. Also, Ran-chan and Ayumi-chan have been chosen to be her next apprentices, which is a huge honor. Lady Tsunade is known worldwide for her healing abilities, as well as a cage-level ninja. Ran-chan and Ayumi-chan will inherit all of it over time. The other girls have been training with other Junin sensei who can be trusted, but do not know of your secret. 2 of them are our taijutsu master, Maida Guy, and our illusion mistress, Kurenai Uehi. Shizune explained to the senior angel, who nodded in approval. Flashback end. Yeah, a lot happened over 2 weeks in the village and Yuki was getting settled into the village. The elder angel met with Tsunade and the 2 came to an almost immediate understanding with one another. She knew that now the angels on Earth now had some form of leadership amongst them and that Yuki wholeheartedly approved of her training the younger angels to better protect themselves. On top of that, Tsunade had to deal with Sakura's punishment. The girl had been raving and screaming at everyone she saw that she would get even with them one day from her cell until Inoichi was called in to deal with her. He performed a mental dive on the girl and found that her head had been really screwed with for some time now, but he also found other things that she had seen in there. Flashback. Inoichi had just dove into Sakura's mind and was already regretting doing it. He could see from the condition of her mind that she had been on the receiving end of sexual abuse for several years at the hands of her own father. Apparently, he had been conditioning her to be slavishly loyal to the Uchiha in hopes of gaining an Uchiha grandchild as well as access to their sea offers and lands for himself. Inoichi cringed as he saw what she had gone through during her father's re-education, which also included heavy hypnotism, and having her conditioned to the point that she would lay on her back for the Uchiha at his will and do whatever he wanted. Her mother knew about this and had tried to stop them several times, only wind up a victim herself. Inoichi knew that Kimi was a strong and competent kunoichi in her day, nearly on par with Kushina, but he found out why she wasn't able to stop them. Her husband, while she was weak from giving birth, had strength-sapping seals placed on her that left her physically weakened and cut off her chakra flow, preventing her from using any jutsu, giving him an ex-kunoichi to use and abuse as he saw fit. Kimi had also tried to rat them out, but no one would believe her and any investigation would be halted. That sick bastard, he got off easy when Hyuga offed him. He growled as he set to work on repairing at least some of the damage in her mind. She had bore witness to several members of the civilian council plotting against the Hokage, her father himself killing people who raised their voices against them, and several other treasonous acts by other council members. He gathered as much information as he could while sealing away her memories for the past few years and erasing them. He knew that she would now be a small girl in a young teen's body, but it was the only way to erase the programming that she was running on without doing irreversible damage to her psyche. He went ahead and did it and got the hell out of there. Flashback end. Tsunade and her investigation department now had a treasure trove of incriminating evidence against many of the troublemakers on the council, which she could use to begin culling them and punishing them for the many crimes they thought they would continue to get away with. Also, Sakura's mind had been reset back to before her father started his cruel plan to ensure an Uchiha grandchild. They did test after test on her mind, ran several psyche test batteries to ensure that she was no longer a danger to herself or anyone else. Kimi was now trying to adjust her daughter to the way the world is now slowly. She brought in Ino and Naruto to ease her into her new life. Things were going smoothly for the time being, although it was a tad bit creepy for a girl that was 7 months older than Naruto to act like a 6-year-old again. Kimi also knew that the shinobi program was no longer an option for her daughter since she was too young mentally to understand. Tsunade struck her name from the shinobi roster, understandably. Kimi was overjoyed that all of the harm her scumbag of an ex-husband had inflicted on her daughter had been erased, but Jiraiya had been told about the seals that had been planted on her and he had a way to take them off. He managed to get rid of the seals and her full strength had been restored, making her able to be a kunoichi again with some conditioning, which she did every few days with Shizune. She was told that once she could perform up to par, she would be added to the roster once again. Normally age would have been a factor, but she was still young enough to pull it off, being Shizune's age of 28 and marrying at a young age at the behest of her parents. On another note, Kimi's parents, who survived the Kyuubi attack, were always kept in the dark about what Atsugi had been doing with their daughter and grandchild. Until Atsugi was executed and the evidence was found, they were both shocked and appalled with what they learned and had much to make up for. Another positive thing that arose from this was the fact that her parents had accepted Naruto, seeing as how they figured out who his mother was, and it was no secret that she was the previous holder of the Kyuubi, as was Mito before them. They came by when Naruto was visiting and offered a formal apology. He naturally asked why and they told him that they were in the wrong for everything they had done or unwittingly had a hand in, to their daughter, to their granddaughter, and to someone that was once very close to the family. Kimi had known that her mother was once a kunoichi herself, but what she hadn't known and was revealed that she was a student of Naruto Uzumaki herself. She believed that she had betrayed her beloved sensei by shunning one of her kin that held the same burden as herself. Kakashi had found out about the trial the day after it happened, due to going on a drinking binge that lasted for over a month. He had been disgraced in the worst way, and even worse, he couldn't blame anyone but himself. His team had been destroyed, completely. Sasuke was now serving a life sentence, Sakura's mind now a shell of what it was, and Naruto refused to have anything to do with him, Jiraiya and Tsunade promising a harsh punishment should he interfere in his life again. He was now forced to watch from afar as Naruto grew from afar, with no chance for redemption in sight. Akane had a couple more encounters with Kiba during this time period. After Hana dragged him home after the first time, she and their mother laid into him to leave them alone or the consequences were not going to be pleasant. Kiba's hormones and overfed sense of pride had always been a fatal flaw in the Inuzuka heir, one that he himself never bothered to fix. This time, it was going to cost him dearly. A week after the trial, Kiba had been looking around for her and had been intending to put her in her place and claim her when he found her with 2 other girls. Being cocky, he made his way over to them and attempted to yank her away from them, but she wrenched herself out of his grip and the other 2 girls were just as pissed as she was. Mika cast a binding spell on him to halt any further movements while Akane and Tsubasa proceeded to pound and stomp him for his actions, both past and present. Hana, who had been looking for him due to a request from their mother to drag his sari back, and explain himself for some sexist comments he made to his sensei and kunoichi teammate when she happened upon him. Hana managed to coax them into calming down long enough for her to drag him back. Once she got him home and told Sum what he'd been up to, that was the final straw for the Inuzuka matriarch. She gouged the marks on his cheeks, leaving an ugly set of scars in their place. This was an indication of shame and officially becoming the clan Omega, or their shamed one. He had been cast out of the line of succession for leadership of the clan and was no longer recognized as her son, an Inuzuka in name only. Even Akamaru had forsaken him, wisely choosing to side with the clan Alpha. Hiba was allowed to stay on Team 8, but would never be trusted again. Things were now starting to stabilize after the trial that saw Sasuke Uchiha behind bars for the rest of his natural life. However, not everything was peachy. The ones that hunted Naruto and his kind were drawing closer and closer. The Saint Beasts had been sighted less than a day's journey away from the village, prompting Jiraiya to relay the caution to Tsunade. In turn, she purposefully excluded Naruto from missions outside of the village, but he began to ask questions before long. Tsunade was tight-lipped about it, but Jiraiya took him aside and told him about them. He took the boy to one of his safe houses within the village, where they would be undisturbed. "What's up, Ero Sennin?" Naruto asked. "Listen kid, you remember those two guys that attacked you when we're looking for Tsunade?" Jiraiya asked. "Yeah, one of them was Sasuke Tem's older brother, right? The aka whatever." Naruto replied. "They are called the Akatsuki and their goal as far as I can tell, is to extract the demons from hosts much like yourself, but the purpose or cause this is for is unknown. What we do know is that the extraction process is lethal, since there is no known way to separate one from its host once sealed safely." Yeesh, these guys sound pretty horrible, then. Naruto grimaced. "Naruto, that's not even the worst part yet. There is another group out there hunting down everyone like you and they have been spotted less than a day away from here. Tsunade already knows and it's time you knew, too." Jiraiya briefed him, telling him all that he had found out about the Saint Beasts. It's a no-brainer that the boy was upset by this news. He was starting to get angry with Tsunade for not letting him go out on missions, having him stay within the confines of the village. He thought that she was just being overprotective, but this new information really shed some light on as to why she had been acting strange as of late. She was trying to protect him the only way she could from them, in short of going out there and taking them on herself, which would almost certainly be a death sentence. "By your silence, I take it that you understand?" Jiraiya asked. "Why yeah, I need to train even harder than before, now. I don't want to hide behind Tsunade Kachin. I don't want her or the girls to get hurt or killed because I wasn't strong enough to protect myself." Naruto realized, making Jiraiya grin and think that maybe his student wasn't such a blockhead after all. "Well, training I can help you with, and from what Shizune's been telling me, those girls of yours have your workaholic habits at times. I think that you will do fine as long as we prepare you the right way," Jiraiya told him, trying to give his student confidence. Jiraiya started really getting down to brass tacks on training Naruto after he found that the Saint Beasts wouldn't dare try to invade another village again thanks to what some connections in Iwa told him. If they had that much trouble from Iwa, just imagine what Konoha would do to them. They wouldn't make it out without sustaining serious damage, if they made it out at all. Outside of the village, walking along the paths that led to Konoha, the four Saint Beasts made their way to claim their third Biju. They had already claimed the Rokubi and the Sanbi Biju, stopping by Mizu no Kuni on the way to Hai no Kuni and killing and absorbing their power. Now, they felt confident enough to face whatever the Kyuubi Jinchuriki could throw at them. "So, this is Konoha, a nicely wooded area, and I can sense something special about the area, as if there is a heavy spiritual presence here." Shin commented. "I agree. Once we eliminate the humans here, we may set up a residency here." Go at it as they got down to business. "We will need to sneak inside of the village since we will need to identify our target and try to lure him away from the village. That way, even if someone would help him, they won't make it in time and I doubt he could put up much of a fight." Shin addressed his brothers. The four brother gods managed to steal away inside of the village and began to look around for the boy of 13 years old with blonde hair. They were soon frustrated when the only blonde that age was female and didn't bear the possession marks. They searched in vain for another few hours until they came across some girls that gave them an odd impression. Tsubasa, Akane, and Yuki, who were returning from one of the training fields. Two of those girls are brides. Go breathed. He never would have thought it possible that even one of them would be here, let alone two and together. "I agree, we must claim them before we do anything," Ray stated, Go agreeing. Guy and Shin were about to object when two more familiar presences made themselves known. Tamami and Ayumi were just now returning from the market with dinner for the night, the two of them using their more developed intellects to haggle a good bargain. Guy almost ran forward to claim his bride now, but Shin halted him. "What? I will claim my bride. That bastard human enslaved them." Guy snarled, but a sharp glare from Go cowed him into silence. "We will need to do this right. Guy, you and I will intercept them before they reach their home while Go and Ray will take care of that girl with their brides. This will have to be done quickly and we can use them to lure the container outside of the village," Shin proposed. The idea seemed like it would work, so they went into action. The brothers worked quickly before the ninja of the village noticed them and reacted. There was a good reason why the shinobi of this village were feared, even if the atmosphere didn't display that. Ayumi and Tamami were able to be taken without much of a fuss, seeing as how neither of them were oriented for physical combat very much, but the other two proved to be a bigger problem. At the outskirts of the training areas, Go and Rei showed up in front of the girls. My queen, come with me, we can smash these humans together and we can bring forth a world without them for us animals. Go declared to Yuki while Rei was working on Tsubasa. Won't you come with me, my sweet? We were meant to be together, you know. He smirked. Yuki wasn't really amused by these two and neither were her two companions, but Yuki remembered that the Saint Beasts were out and about and a realization struck home. She lashed out on instinct at them. You have some nerve coming here. Yuki growled. Akane and Tsubasa following her lead. My bride, you wound me with such words. Please come with me, Go repeated. The two of you are the Saint Beasts, aren't you? You won't touch our master. Akane yelled as she darted in to attack them with surprising speed, attacking Go. The Seiryu caught the blow easily and pulled her to his face. Any who resist will be destroyed, he roared as he let loose with a powerful punch to her sternum, cracking it and launching her into a tree, giving her a concussion and a head wound. You bastards! Tsubasa nearly screamed in rage as she and Yuki attacked the pair in tandem. Tsubasa was fairly fast and was putting Rei on the defensive, but he was holding back to avoid hurting his bride, as was Go. They fight dragged on and eventually, a member of Team Guy arrived and saw the fight. What is going on here? Lee exclaimed, seeing his friends get attacked by these strange men. I am Konoha's beautiful green beast, Rock Lee. I will punish you unyouthful fellows for attacking my friends. Lee declared as he rushed into the fray. At first, he wasn't taken seriously, but a ridiculously powerful four-knuckle punch to Go's jaw made him think otherwise. You, insect! The Seiryu bellowed as he stopped holding back, belting Lee with a powerful hook that could have taken his head off if he hadn't been toughened up by his sensei. Instead, he was knocked through a tree, but Lee got right back up and back into the fight to their disbelief. It will take more than that to defeat the green beast. Lee bellowed as he darted back into the fight and engaged Rei, using his conditioning to pepper the Suzaku with repeated blows and began pushing him back. Rei responded by goring his shoulder and gripping his head with his transformed talons, Go holding Akane by her neck. Now, come with us, or they die. Go snarled, squeezing Akane's neck tighter. Fine. Just don't hurt them or master. And we will come with you. Yuki relented, her fists trembling. Go looked them in the eyes. That is no longer your concern. He told them coldly as they blacked out. Lee and Akane were discarded roughly, the two Saint Beasts shouldering their respective brides while Go had a crow send a message to Naruto as a lure. After the pair disappeared, the rest of Team Guy showed up. Lee, Akane, what happened? Tenten screamed as she began to tend to their wounds while Neji and Guy pulled her away to get them to the hospital. Konoha Hospital. Team Guy rushed into the emergency room with one of their own and Akane when Shizune, who was on duty at the time, saw them. Get them into the ER, now. The woman bellowed out, giving commands to the other medics. The medics diagnosed a cracked sternum, ribs, and a minor concussion, while Lee had a large goring wound to his left shoulder along with a sizable concussion. Ran, who was at the hospital, was working furiously to heal her sister and friend while wondering what happened to them. Who did this to them? She wondered. She knew that Lee and Akane were no pushovers, so whoever did this had to have been quite strong. Naruto's house. Naruto had just gotten home from helping Tsunade organize the mission archives, greeting those who were still at home. Mika took it upon herself to greet him in her own special way, by way of a flying glomp and face mashed into her generous bust. Welcome home, master, she gushed, the others coming now. I wonder what's for dinner tonight, Nano. Kurumi wondered hungrily. I dunno, but Ayumi and Tamami are late. They should have been home by now. Midori answered, making Naruto worried. Yeah, come to think of it, Yuki, Akane, and Tsubasa aren't back yet, either. Mika added, that tears it, I'm gonna go look for them. Naruto declared as a crow began to peck at their windows. What the hell? Naruto whispered as Mika opened the window and seemingly talked to it, but her eyes went wide with fear, her whole body trembling. What is it? Naruto asked. The 4 Saint Beasts. They're here in the village and they have Yuki, Ayumi, Tsubasa, and Tamami and they heard Akane. They claimed them as their brides. They said if you have a problem with it, to meet them inside of Training Ground 44 tonight. Mika answered him. Those sickos are gonna wish they were never born. Naruto snarled as he bolted out the open window and into the rapidly approaching night at full tilt. Master no, Mika shouted, trying to stop him but her words were ignored. Big sister Mika, what should we do? Nana asked. I don't know, she muttered, slumping against the wall as she racked her brain for an idea until it came to her. We need to ask Lady Suan for help. She's the only one that can help us now. Come on, Mika ordered, taking charge of the younger angels and bringing them to the Hokage's office. Training ground number 44. Naruto arrived at the training ground quickly, scanning the area for any sign or trace of the four that claimed to have his precious people captive. He passed the area where he fought Orochimaru's giant snake, its corpse still rotting there, past the area where Gaara killed the group of Rain Nin during the Chunin exams. Finally, he arrived at the tower in the center of the forest, the slight Damonkarua he was giving off driving away any would-be predators. He forced the door open to see the lights come on in the arena. Across the way, he saw the four girls standing still as statues with four males behind them, the smirks they wore pissing him off even more. So, Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. You have shown yourself to us at last. I will admit that you have been the easiest to track down of all of your brethren. Go stated as he turned to the girls. Now, brides of the Saint Beasts, show your loyalty by killing this abomination. He ordered, the girls' eyes looking like they were possessed as they bore down on him with weapons to kill him as ordered. Naruto leapt away from them. You sick bastards, he bellowed as he ducked a swipe from Yuki's Tonto and a stab from Tsubasa's. Just die, Jinchuriki, Guy yelled down at him as the girls fought on. Damn, I don't wanna to hurt him. What can I do? He thought feverishly, trying to come up with a solution until one came to him. He quickly summoned some Kage Bunshin to aid him in restraining the four girls as he swiftly knocked them out without harming them. After setting them down gently, he faced them with a glare that could melt steel, his crimson chakra beginning to swirl around him. You bastards, you made me hurt them. You hurt Akane, I love them more than my own life. Now, you'll pay with your lives. Naruto screamed, his roar of rage echoing everywhere as the demonic chakra began to coalesce around him, forming the Kyuubi shroud with two tails swaying angrily behind him. For a moment, the four wondered if they had bitten off more than they could chew with their current powers as the demon-empowered voice seemed to disappear from view and connected with a vicious punch to Guy and launched him into the base of a massive statue. Gee, that hurt, he groaned as the other three jumped into the battle. Go managed to get behind him and smacked him with a punch that could shatter a boulder, embedding him into the ground while Shin fired off his shards to try and slow him down enough for Rei to crush him. The shards hit home and embedded themselves in his back, but they were shoved back out and Naruto intercepted Rei in midair, spiking him back down to the ground. He's more difficult to fight than I thought. Go snarled as he got ready to attack again. We just need to wear him down. He can't control the demon's power properly, so we just need to outlast him. Shin yelled to his brothers as they began to launch harassment attacks to wear him down without taking too much damage. This had gone on for a few minutes and they were taking more damage than they wanted to, but it was starting to work as his movements were beginning to slow down. Finally, Go landed a rock-shattering blow to Naruto's stomach, forcing the air from his lungs and knocking him out of Kyuubi mode and near unconsciousness. You little abomination, you have been more trouble to us than we expected. Now, we will take the demon from you and cast you into hell, where mistakes like you belong. Go snarled as they advanced upon him. Byakurai, a bolt of light suddenly shot through the roof from the skies above, making the four gods back off. As the light died down, the goddess herself stood there, her expression one of fury. You will go no further, she told him in a firm tone, physically shielding Naruto from them. So, you have decided to intervene. But what power do you really think you have over us? Go sneered at her. I may not be able to do much, but make no mistake. I will not let you harm this child. He is to become the second coming of the great sage and restore balance to the world. She declared. Even more reason to kill him. He left the animals to be enslaved. He betrayed us, Guy retorted. He was trying to prevent a war that would have killed everything. Human, animals, everything. She argued. Enough. I refuse to hear any more of these lies. You have always been the lapdog of humans, you traitor. Now, you can die as one. Go snarled as he leapt into attack, but, in the village, just after Naruto left. What? Tsunade nearly screamed after Mika and the remaining girls told her what happened. We couldn't stop him. He's going to fight them on his own because he doesn't want to lose us again. Ran cried. If Master dies, I don't know what I'll do. Akane whimpered, Midori clutching her for support. That little, Shizune, I'm going out there. You and the girls track down Jiraiya and bring him to Area 44. Move, Tsunade ordered as she seemed to disappear in an eye blink. Let's go, Shizune repeated as they all spread out to find the old pervert. Along the way, they bumped into Anko who was delivering a report at the time and she was told of what was going on. I'll go on ahead and help Lady Tsunade and the kid. She told them. She darted off. After 10 more minutes of searching, they finally found Jiraiya around the red light district. Lord Jiraiya, you have to come with me. Shizune pleaded. Whoa, what's got you so worked up? He asked. The Saint Beasts. They're here in the village. Shizune replied, in near hysterics. The old pervert's eyes went from shocked to cold and hard. Where are they? He asked her coldly. Area 44. Naruto-kun is already there and fighting them. He kidnapped some of the girls to lure him out. Lady Tsunade and Anko have already gone ahead to help, but they will need you. Shizune replied. I'm on my way, Jiraiya declared, vanishing in a gust of wind as the rest of them hurried back to the office to await further word. Forest of Death. Tsunade and Anko had entered the forest, desperately searching for Naruto before it was too late. Finally, Tsunade could sense Naruto's chakra, faintly, but it was still there. They managed to home in on it and came to the central tower. He was unconscious, but a mysterious woman was standing over him protectively, trying to shield him from four men they could only assume to be the Saint Beasts. So, you have decided to intervene. But what power do you really think you have over us? Go sneered at her. I may not be able to do much, but make no mistake. I will not let you harm this child. He is to become the second coming of the great sage and restore balance to the world. She declared. Even more reason to kill him. He left the animals to be enslaved. He betrayed us. Guy retorted. He was trying to prevent a war that would have killed everything. Human, animals, everything. She argued. Enough. I refuse to hear any more of these lies. You have always been the lapdog of humans, you traitor. Now, you can die as one. Go snarled as he leapt into attack. I don't think so. Tsunade bellowed as she intercepted Go's attack, sending him flying back into his brothers with surprising force. Go stood back up shakily, since Tsunade had put quite a bit of power into that blow. What's this? Another lowly human coming to your rescue like before. Go sneered again. Don't think you can come into my village and do whatever you want. Suan declared, her chakra now flaring. All we want is the boy. If you just give him to us, we will leave. Shin tried to reason with her. He had heard that the Kyuubi Jinchuriki was hated by his village, and if he appealed to their leader, she may just give him to them and be rid of him. But he couldn't have been more wrong. I will never hand him over to you or anyone. He is the son I've never had, and I will kill you all before you even lay another hand on him. The beautiful Sanin roared with fury. Then we'll just kill you and take him anyway, human trash. Guy snarled and attempted to lunge at her, but he was snagged out of the air. Senei, Jashu. Snakes shot out and grabbed him in mid-leap, grinding tighter and tighter. The attacker stepped out from behind a wall to reveal another kunoichi, the snakes coming from her sleeve and a killer scowl on her face. You're all snake chow, now. She told them coldly as she flung the Byakko back into his brethren with crushing force. Snakes, you would betray your king. Go snarled to the snakes Anko had summoned. We bend no knee to you, fallen one. How we conduct ourselves is none of your concern. The serpents Anko summoned answered as they lanced forward to attack, their mistress and Tsunade right behind them. Tsunade opened up with a punishing taijutsu barrage that made Go, physically the strongest of the four, falter back while Anko was keeping the rest at bay with her summons and her speed. Guy and Rei were both bitten by her snakes, their venom coursing through them while she engaged Shin, who launched salvos of shards at her only for them to miss. Go managed to evade a blow that would have taken his head off and countered with a punch to Tsunade's face that seemed to phase her only for a split second before she was on top of him again. The Saint Beasts had to admit that these two women and the boy had put up more of a fight than the Akatsuki members they had fought before, but another presence made itself known to them in the form of an older man appearing in a gust of wind. He looked over to where his student and godson lay, where a strange woman was trying to heal and protect him and the four girls, then looked to his attackers with cold fury building up. So, you are the Saint Beasts that I've heard so much about. You picked the wrong village to target and the wrong people. Now, I'll kill you, personally. Jiraiya snarled as he leapt into the fray, using a summon to assist him in battle named Gamahama, who fought with large teko on his forearms. Rei took to the air as well as the enclosed arena would allow him to attack the large battle toad, but was swatted out of the air by metal-clad fist and into a wall with enough force to render him unconscious. Guy howled with rage at seeing one of his brothers fall and blindly attack the Sanin, but Jiraiya was also very fast and very skilled, moving out of the way of the blow and employing the Kawazu Kumite, or toad-style taijutsu to good effect. Soon, Guy was also taken out of the battle, leaving just an injured Shin and an even worse off Go. You, filthy humans, you may have won this round, but we will never give up until all of you are exterminated. Go roared, all four of them being encased in a blinding light and escaping the battle. Damn, I've gotten rusty, Tsunade panted as she dropped to one knee to catch her breath. Were they the ones, Lady Tsunade? Anko inquired. Yeah, those four bastards are the ones who are hunting down the Jinchuriki, and now we'd like to know why. Jiraiya replied, looking to the goddess as he said this. I'd like some answers, myself. Tsunade added, She and Anko turning to the woman. I knew this day would come, and I am prepared to give you the answers you seek. The goddess answered the three shinobi as she answered their questions. She told them everything, including the true history of their world, not what they had been taught in school, and the true role the Raikudo Sennin played. This was a lot of information for them to take in and it was hard to believe. However, everything that was happening was telling them that they had stumbled into something of great importance to the balance of the world as they knew it. So, you believe that Naruto is the reincarnation of the Raikudo Sennin and that he will eventually bring balance to the world. The Toad Seer told me something similar to that. That I would become the teacher of the bringer of balance. At first, I thought that it was Nagato. Then Minato. Now, I think that old toad was talking about Naruto. Jiraiya surmised gravely. No, I just took him in as my son. I will not put him in that kind of danger. Tsunade responded vehemently. I know how you feel, Hyuga. But you can't protect the boy forever. This incident just proved my point. I will need to step up his training. No more fooling around or research for now. Can you give me your cooperation on this, Hyuga? The Toad Sage asked his old teammate seriously. Tsunade warred within herself. Her emerging maternal urges telling her to tell Jiraiya to take a hike were strong, but she knew that she wouldn't always be there to protect him, that he needed to be able to defend himself. He did a fair amount of damage on his own before they got there, but he is capable of so much more and her trying to shield him from the world would only stunt his growth. Jiraiya could see the conflict within her and spoke out. In case you're lost, you did the right thing in protecting him from the council. That is one area he can never have too much help with. I'm not telling you to cut him off or abandon him, just to let me train him so that if these people come back, and I know they will, he will be strong enough to face them. Jiraiya clarified for her, making her feel much better. I see, I'll agree to let you train him. But under one condition, I will not have him turning into a pervert like you. Tsunade declared. Fair enough, Hyuga. He chuckled softly as they all turned to the goddess. You hear that? You've got our support. I knew that Brat was destined for greatness, but this blew my expectations out of the water. Jiraiya admitted. Thank you, Tsunade and Jiraiya of the Sannin, Anko Mitarashi. I have faith that you will make good on your pledge and help the future sage and the angels achieve their ultimate goal. I must bid you farewell. For now, the deity told them as she was surrounded by a blinding light and vanished, looking as if she were never there. Wow, that was his first for me. Talking to a goddess, Anko murmured. Me too. Come on, let's gather them up and get them home for some rest. I bet Shizune and the other girls are worried sick right about now. Tsunade said as they picked them all